What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Fandom Nation. This is episode 6 of our relaunch here, and really looking forward to diving into some of the topics we have today. On more of a official capacity, we can finally talk about some good news for Friday the 13th fans. Now, until you see the product, never assume anything. But nonetheless, there's good news to talk about. Um, Daredevil episode 4 was in the books last week. We're going to talk about it tonight. Correct me if I'm wrong here, fellas. I know I'm not properly introducing you yet, but 2 episodes dropped tonight. Is
Yep.
that right?
Yep.
Okay. So, wasn't sure on that, but that's good. That makes me happy. So we have that. There was an Andor trailer that dropped today. If you haven't checked it out, definitely check that out because we're going to talk about it. Going to give some details on how you're going to be able to check out 2 more episodes of our Andor rewatch. And I know I'm forgetting something. A little bit of talk on how far behind we think the Halloween TV series is from where Crystal Lake is in terms of their productions. And that's speculative at best, but definitely have some takes on that one. So short little tight show today. Nothing too over the top. Without further ado, he's the man behind Bros Before Pros. No, almost mixed up that time. It's Johnny. What's going on, man?
Oh, not a whole heck of a lot of anything right now, to be honest. It's been a long day for me.
I feel like there was hidden things there.
No. I mean, if there are, they're so well hidden, they're even hidden from me.
Some Inception level shit there.
Oh.
Randy, what's going on, man?
Not a whole lot. The work week's been crazy already, quarter end, stuff like that. But no, so this is definitely that time to kind of, cut loose a little bit and enjoy. Hopefully get to enjoy some GalaxyCon this weekend in Richmond and get the chance to see I've got at least 2 or 3 people I want to at least try to get autographs from. Swerve and Orange Cassidy are 2 of them. And if I'm real fortunate, I'll get a chance to get in line for Vincent D'Onofrio and get his autograph as well.
Oh, that'd be awesome. That would be awesome. Vincent D'Onofrio, an absolute legend.
The real question is, what 8x10 would you get him to sign for you?
That's a really good question. Yeah, I mean, usually they bring a bunch of different ones, so it's like, but I feel like I'd have to go Kingpin. I would have to. It makes the most sense considering the way Daredevil's going and how much I'm really enjoying it, and how much I've enjoyed his portrayal of Kingpin. So but there are definitely quite a few others options there for sure.
Absolutely. I'd be hard pressed to not get a Full Metal Jacket.
I don't blame you.
All right, let's proceed on with things here. By the way, if you're just tuning in, hit the like button. Helps other people find the stream to join us like you have. JT, what's going on? He's gonna listen to us while doing some work. And then we got Jake Deschong in the chat. But we have some good news here apparently. As I tried my best to pull it up here. Let's see if this is what we want. Is that showing up for you guys?
Yes.
Indeed it is.
All right, so this is straight from Deadline. Linda Cardellini set as Pamela Voorhees in Friday the 13th prequel series, Crystal Lake on Peacock. Now, before we even get into the article, right off the top, one of the rumors was when Fuller was ousted from the project, this might become more of just your typical Jason hack and slash type show, and it doesn't seem like that's where we're going with this. Um, the lead of the show is going to be Pamela Voorhees. So right off the top, how do we feel about that, Johnny?
I mean, I think done well, it makes a lot of sense. You know, when it was the Fuller project, I was on board with that idea because it ties into what was so great about Hannibal, right? It was prior to Silence of the Lambs. It was a period where we didn't really know all that much of their history. The same is true for Pamela Voorhees. Outside of the first film, that's it. We know nothing of her other than as this mother who has lost her son and goes crazy and starts killing people. We know nothing of that. I like the prequel stories of these characters. They work well for me personally, as long as the stories are good. I mean, prime example, look at Bates Motel. It took an iconic character from an iconic film and told their backstory in a satisfying way for someone who loves the movie. So, if they can do something like that, I'm all for this plan. And let's be honest, I love Linda Cardellini, so that helps.
Randy, how about you?
I'm definitely okay. Definitely more than okay with the casting. I think it's really cool to give an actress who normally doesn't play this type of a role in movies this opportunity. Obviously, same you said for Betsy Palmer back when they did Friday the 13th, the original. Just taking this very a famous actress who is not known for these types of roles and put him in and cast him as a character who is a bit mentally unhinged. And I think we're going to be in for a treat as long as the script is sound and the director knows what they're doing. I think that's really going to be the key here. Obviously, supporting cast is pretty important, but ultimately, as long as we get a good story, a good script, and solid directing, I think we're going to be in for a pleasant surprise. It's about damn time us Friday the 13th fans finally got a win here, because I feel like this is kind of a big dub heading into the fact that we know the series isn't dead.
Yeah, I think it's a excuse me. I think it's a big W, big win. Now, again, until we're watching this thing, I'm assuming nothing because it's the safe thing to do when it comes to this franchise.
Any franchise at this point.
Yeah, yeah, it has been a while for these guys though. 2009. People might want to pay attention to Welcome to Derry more now, as Brad Caleb Kane is the creator over there on it too. So if you like what they offer in that the It TV series, if you will, then perhaps there's a chance you'll like what they offer with Crystal Lake. These guys seem to have a way of always landing themselves in trouble in terms of the creators of Crystal Lake, Jason Voorhees, etc. It does seem like they're sticking with some of the Brian Fuller premise. So I do wonder how much of his work sticks and if he'll be given appropriate credit. And people might go, well, of course he will be, but how often in Hollywood they get into fights about this sort of thing in terms of who gets credit, who doesn't. But I am thankful to hear that it's going to be Pamela Voorhees as the main character. That doesn't mean Jason can't pop up. That doesn't mean that it's not necessarily two timelines. but I like that they're confident enough to stick with doing that and not just, well, here's Jason killing 17 random kids over 8 weeks. You know what I mean? Um, so I think that's a plus. Um, just want to touch on a few of the details here. Excuse me. Um, so the premise of the show is being kept under wraps, but what they do believe they've figured out is Cardellini's Pamela is believed to be a mother who had given up a singing career to raise a special needs child and takes a dark turn when she loses her son. And then it just goes over the history of Pamela in the movies. But this, I do believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that's why I was hoping Matt would come out tonight, but I think you guys are fairly brushed up with Friday the 13th, history and lore. That would be a different take, would it not? A different origin, I believe.
I can't remember the specific origin of Pamela Voorhees. I do want to say that it sounds different. I don't remember her being a singer. Um, let's see what we can find out here.
Well, I mean, even in the movie, they talked about how she actually worked for Camp Crystal Lake during summer camp and stuff like that. So obviously that's during the time she's raising Jason, but yeah, it definitely sounds like it's a little different from the
definitely
original.
different. Yeah. Based on, if nothing else, there was a published by Wildstorm Pamela origin comic book miniseries
Mm-hmm.
back in 2007 that painted a very different picture. They were more of the trailer park family with the abusive husbands. You know, that stereotype. That's what they were.
The Rob Zombie stereotype.
Yeah.
I'm gonna skull fuck you. That type.
Yeah. Mm.
Ugh. Um. Yeah. So that's it for now. But there are rumblings that we're gonna get some more of the cast soon. So it does feel like they are gearing up to possibly start shooting this thing by fall or even winter. Um, I'm happy. It's about damn time. I want to talk about this in the context of, hey, it's coming. We know we're going to get it, even if we're still like 18 months off of seeing something. It would be nice to talk about it knowing that it's coming rather than talk about it as, well, maybe one day cameras might roll, but also they might never roll again.
It's just nice to see something moving forward. You know, we've waited way too long. Everybody, I mean, granted, you know, Nightmare on Elm Street people are kind of having to wait a little bit here, but for the most part, I mean, you know, we get Child's Play. We got Child's Play sooner than a Friday the 13th. You know, we've got new Hellraiser sooner than Friday the 13th. It's time, and I, for one, I'm going to keep my expectations tempered, and I want to see who we get for the cast. Because if they're a bunch of nobodies or that are brand new people or people that just, you know, are familiar with the genre in itself, then, you know, it's not exactly a stellar sporting cast. But again, it's just a kind of wait and see approach at this point.
I mean, that's really all we can do. You know, there have been so many starts and stops, not just in this project, but in so many other projects that we've both covered here on the channel and followed ourselves throughout the years, that you know until we see it, it's still sort of hard to fully truly believe that what you're gonna see is what you're gonna so it's still a wait and see. But I think we're definitely further along in this project than we thought we were, especially with all of the things that happened last year. So seeing that now we're back to this point is a good thing. Hopefully that means they are salvaging some of the stuff that was done under the previous administration. So that's exciting. And I'm hopeful because I'm sure he had a great story planned. So if there are elements of that are salvageable and that they can build on and work and tweak and things like that, I'm excited for that, because I was excited for that uh, a year ago. So being able to get there again, I think, is a wonderful thing, and I'm very, very, very excited for that possibility.
Yeah, Brian Fuller's a genius, so if they were able to hang on to much of anything that what he might have done, then I think they're better off for it. I think the whole show would have been better off just to have him, but obviously for budget and creative reasons, they let him go, and we'll see what this fellow's able to do. Again, this is the guy that is doing Welcome to Derry, so his it's not like he's completely fresh to this, right? Like,
Yeah.
even though we haven't seen Welcome to Derry yet, that's been in the can for a bit now, so they have an idea at least on what he's done, and I think that's important.
The things that have come out about it have sounded reassuring from people who have seen it. You know, so I'm hopeful that it's good. I'm excited because to this point I haven't really been in to the new It. That hasn't been for me. I'm classic. Give me Tim Curry in the makeup, and I'm happy. But
They were really good movies. The cast was really well done.
oh yeah, they weren't bad.
And
Compared to other remakes
nostalgia
and
reasons for you and me as well in those
exactly.
movies, but yeah, they're okay. And if the TV show is of similar quality, then I think it'll do good. And if the one thing I'll say about this is just reading, and this is me inferring a lot off of just a brief little character summary of Pamela, is when I read that short little blurb that we did earlier about her being a former singer who's given it up to raise her special needs child and the child dies, aka Jason, that to me doesn't come off like goofy, campy horror TV show. That to me comes off more like a more serious tone, which is what I've wanted from this show. I haven't wanted them to go back and do the let's recapture the campiness of the 80s. No, you got a bunch of other terrible horror B movies that can do that for you that are out there right now. Elevate your franchise in its return.
Yeah, absolutely. Just thinking about the fact that there's probably going to be stressors of her, you know, taking care of Jason, but also thinking back to having to give up a promising career as a singer, and then to see the descent into madness as she's just grief stricken. Like those are types of things that you're not going to get out of a campy series. That you're just going to that, and I think an actress for caliber can definitely pull this off to where it's very believable. It's going to be very heartbreaking, and it's hopefully it's just going to be full of drama and very powerful. That's kind of what I'm hoping for. Obviously, we don't know just because we don't know the script or anything like that. But just like you said, that little blurb says a lot about where they can go with this, with her performance, and how they can write her descent.
Sorry, I'm trying to multitask here, fellas. I do agree with one thing that Johnny said, and he had mentioned that this thing might be further along than what we all thought, and I do kind of get that impression too. Which for me, in my older age, I'm more take your time, do it right, but at the same time, yeah, give me some new content to watch. 2009 was a long time ago, so. Do you get that vibe, Randy, that they might be further along than what people thought, considering what's gone on the last year?
I mean, they kind of have to be if you really think about it. Obviously they had a story in mind. I would assume they're probably keeping some of the script that was originally pitched to them. That's the only way they could be this far along, unless they've been working on it in secret and rehashed and redone it and been like, you know what, this isn't a half bad idea. Let's go back to this, which is always possible. But if they're into the casting stuff now and they've got writers and directors, and they definitely are. They're definitely farther along than Halloween is for sure. So I just don't know. I mean, obviously, for all we know, next week we could be like, hey, we're going to start shooting in, 2025. That would be amazing if that's the case. But once they have the cast, once they have everything set up, I really hope they do take their time. As much as it's the hurry up and wait thing, but I'd rather it be good than rushed. And I feel like with what we're getting out of the quality of shows based off of horror franchises as of late, you kind of have to. It is just the success of Hannibal, the success of Bates Motel, even Child's Play did fairly decently for getting as many seasons as it got. And now we got Welcome to Derry coming up. At this point, and let's take our time. Let's make sure it's good. This would be something new for the franchise, and I'm all for new. I'm all for taking it in a different direction and giving us something that we've never seen before.
Well, that brings up our next thought here, and that is how far behind Crystal Lake do we think the Halloween TV series is in terms of production, knowing that Crystal Lake was announced well over a year before the Halloween show was announced, knowing Crystal Lake had the Brian Fuller, pardon me, setback, has gotten back at it, named a showrunner. They have a lead cast member. They have a target date of when they'd like to get it out. And they are all things we don't officially have in any capacity for the Halloween TV series. So a lot of people like to speculate when we're going to get something, how far off it may be. Thought it might be fun to put the two series beside each other today with the news from the Crystal Lake series and legitimately try to think about how far behind they are. Crystal Lake, we know some of the suits involved. We know who the showrunner is. We know who's going to direct some episodes. And we know who the lead is. We have none of that for Halloween. We have a very tiny story premise that at this point maybe or may not be outdated, and it's been radio silence. So for me, I think at minimum, this is bare minimum, wherever Crystal Lake is today, however many months they are off of filming, Halloween is at least 1 year behind, in my opinion. And now, is it possible that it could be much closer than that? Yeah. But when you look at everything that's out there, the timeline on things, I'm hard pressed to sit here and say that they would get it out any quicker than a year after Crystal Lake comes out at this rate. And even then, that might be optimistic at this point in time. Johnny,
I
prediction?
mean, yeah, there's like Randy said earlier, they're not even remotely this close. Um, I they don't even have a story, that we are aware of, and it'd be hard. I'd be hard pressed to believe that they have managed to keep it that under wraps, that they have completed that we'd have no knowledge of it. It's not impossible, obviously, but I'm very doubtful that they could successfully, be further along in to this production than we think they are. Um, it's you said earlier that we had the Friday the 13th project announced a full year in advance of the Halloween project. It's you know we're at least that far behind, at least a full year behind. But I dare say it's probably closer to two, because even though we did get it, a full year in advance, the Friday the 13th project started, had its guy, had its production, had all of that, switched that, and in the course of, what was that now, about 6 months ago, roughly, that Fuller left the project. And already it's back on its feet with a new showrunner, a new production staff, all of those things that you need to make, to make the story go boo. And we're not even close to that, I'd say we're at least 2 years further back into this. We are. I think at this point, based on what we know, we are barely past the announcement stage that something is being worked on. We're not even at the Kathleen Kennedy on the Disney floor announcing another film that's never going to come out stage. We're that far behind the eight ball.
You might
With the
want to
Halloween show.
avoid that stage altogether.
Well, I would too, but for comparison, we're not even that far yet in the Halloween project. We're in the rumors and rumblings that this guy might be working on something possibly in the Star Wars universe that hasn't yet been announced stage.
As you can see, Matt's here. He had some feedback coming from his mic, so I muted him. We'll get his thoughts on all this in a second. Yeah, you're probably right. It's probably 2 years behind where Crystal Lake currently is, which is maddening to think. And the simple truth is, the longer we go without a single peep from these sides involved with the Halloween show, the more justified you are in saying the Halloween show is in development hell. I don't think we're far off from that right now, to be honest. Some people might think that's an overreaction. I just think, in terms of the way things work today, in development of TV, yeah, I think they're pretty close to development hell. And, that could change, It's not, doom and gloom. It's not the end of the world by any means. But, at bare minimum, it's a year behind. And that's if everything goes right and quickly. I think in their minds over at Trancas is 2028 is the 50-year anniversary of the franchise. I think between now and then, they want a new movie, season 1 of the TV show, and the video game all out.
They better get off their ass then.
Yeah. I think it's doable. Like, I do. I think that the video games, the more locked in one, to be honest, at this point. Um, and it sounds probably stupid at this point, but I still think someone could show up with just a really good idea for a standalone Halloween movie that has nothing to do with any prior protagonist, that has Michael Myers involved, and you get that thing off the ground cheap and it does well at the box office. And like that, I think, is still more plausible than this TV show that's already been in development for 18 months. So, see if we can get Maddie back in here, get his thoughts on this. And no, you still got a bunch of background noise, dude. But whenever you're not talking, just stay muted.
Okay.
Um,
How do I sound now?
it sounds like you're not coming from your headset.
Okay.
You might be. I don't know. But obviously the big Friday the 13th news today, dude. The Crystal Lake news. The good news for the TV series.
Linda Cardellini.
Yeah, cast as Pamela Voorhees, and we mentioned a couple of things earlier. One, it's the lead. So Pamela is the lead of season 1 of the show. Okay, there was a lot of people worried that they might go back to just a campy 1980s Jason killing a bunch of randoms TV show style, and obviously they're not doing that. Some of it feels like it's sticking to the at least some of the Fuller premise. We don't really know how much, obviously. So we have that news, but also they released a little bit of details behind the character, which I believe Johnny just dove into some of the previous history. And this would be a new backstory for Pamela, as she'd be I guess,
wasn't it like a singer?
A retired singer, yeah.
Yeah.
That gave up her career to raise her special needs son, who then obviously dies, aka Jason, and she goes unhinged, essentially. Just your thoughts, one on Linda's casting and the premise behind the character.
Well, the only thing was I really didn't know that much about. I mean, I know she's done stuff over the years. The only two things that come to my mind is Scooby-Doo and Freaks and Geeks. Other than that, I really don't know what she's been in. Melissa told me she was on ER for a minute. So
you trying to tell me you've never seen Grandma's Boy?
Oh shit! Yes, I've seen Grandma's Boy. I totally forgot she was in that. I should, yeah. Go ahead. Hit me upside the head the next time you see me. Hit me upside the head the next time you see me. But I think she has the look to play something serious, especially in her eyes. I've always thought she's got gorgeous eyes, but I think it's a good premise. Like on with it, as far as like she gave up on an awesome career to raise her disfigured son. But I would be interested in, are they going to bring in a lot? Is it Elijah or Elias?
Elias.
As his father. How much are they going to bring him into the story? I think he needs to be brought into the story, because if there's a mean streak in Jason inherited, I think it could have started with his father, but it was just Jason's murder, that brought it out in Pamela. But yeah, I'm really interested in how they're going to go. But I mean, at least we're getting some news in that they're proceeding. Hopefully, we should get something. I would expect next year.
Yeah, I mean,
or we're lucky this fall.
I don't want to say for certain when we're going to get it, but I would say, next fall shouldn't be ruled out. Is that fall 2026? I think that would make a lot of sense.
If they start shooting, I would just say, let's say they start shooting the summer or fall of this year, we could get spring of next year at the earliest.
Yeah, I'll go back to what I said earlier. I know it does seem like a little bit anyways. It seems like this has been rushed, but I always go on the side of caution, say take the extra time, do it right. You haven't had a release since 2009. Before we move on here, Matt, we were given our predictions on how far we think the Halloween TV series is behind the Crystal Lake series, and we seem to all come in at around the 1 to 2 year mark.
I agree. I would say 2 years max, but I mean, you would think they've got we don't know. Because I don't think we really haven't got anything definite. I mean, concrete to roll with to even really give a prediction at this point. So it's almost like I would think 2 years at the most. But I think there's a part of me. I think they want to see how successful Friday 13th is before they start pushing. Depends on how fast we might get it.
Welcome to Dairy's coming out soon. You'll get an idea just from that alone.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely with Welcome to Dairy.
I don't think we're going to get anything till after they release a movie for the 50th anniversary, to be perfectly honest.
At this point, why put the show out before the movie? Especially, I mean, we're 3.5 years from the 50th anniversary. I mean, if you're not even you're not even as far as like storylines and everything, what you think you might do at this point, just go with the movie. And then I think it's going to be more interesting to take the TV show from the movie. I know people have the other way around, but give us something that's going to want it, that we're going to really want more from the movie, and then take pieces from the movie and then put it in a TV show. That's what they need to do.
I always thought they should do a movie that goes into a TV show first. Right. Anyways, they're doing it ass backwards, trying to do a TV show that goes into a movie. I do think we're quickly reaching the point where it's like, yeah, to me, it's not just wanting to do something for 50 years. It'd be a massive failure not to. The same thing goes for Star Wars. Like, no matter where your productions are, you have to have some sort of TV series or theatrical movie release in 2027.
No, it's got to be a movie.
You can't do neither. And yeah, I agree. It should be the movie, but I believe it'll be the Ryan Gosling one. But, there's certain things you can get away with, certain things you can't. And Halloween doing nothing for the 50-year anniversary, I think, would be just a massive failure on their behalf. But the longer this thing goes, the harder it is to get out these 3 big projects that they wanted to get out. prior to that date. And I'm not saying they can't have the movie, TV show, and video game out before then. I still think even as we stand here in March of 2025, it's still realistic. But if we're having this conversation 6 months from now and nothing's changed on any of the three fronts, realistic starts to become a pipe dream.
Yep.
Matt, you joined us a little late, man. Don't really have anything else to add here, and we're going to get to some Daredevil chat. So should we outro you?
I've been keep on saying I need to sit down and watch the Daredevils. I really do want to watch. It's just like, and you think I've watched it because I've turned pretty much into an insomniac. Well, you know that. But yeah, I'm definitely behind the 8 ball on that.
Oh no, I didn't think you'd watch it. You're the guy that refuses to watch Game of Thrones, Supernatural, and
Whoa. I never said refuse. I just couldn't get into it. But I've heard a lot of good stuff about Daredevil. I've already watched Supernatural. I just never truly got into Game of Thrones, and I don't understand why, because I kind of like those period pieces type. But give me this week. By next week, I'll be ready to go on Daredevil.
Oh yeah, I have a lot of catching up to do. They're releasing 2 new episodes today, so
are we at 6? Is it 6 episodes?
It'll be 6 by the time we're reviewing them next week. Yeah.
Well, hopefully, if I see if I'm a little bit behind, I can hopefully see Randy this weekend, and then he can give me the updates.
Alrighty, dude. Well, thanks for coming out and sharing your thoughts on the Crystal Lake Friday the 13th stuff. Hopefully, the news continues to come out, and we can talk more about it.
All right, they're gonna cast me as Elias. That's why I've been growing this beard out, because I mean, a little bit older,
I don't know. I didn't know who was going to be more excited about Linda Cardellini. You or Johnny?
I've always thought she's hot. Yeah, I mean, she's got those big brown eyes and everything, so it's just like kind of like. I mean, I see a little drool right there on Johnny's mouth when I right there. So when I started mentioning her name, so
no, he's looking at pictures of me from 10 years back.
That is not what I'm doing.
He's updating his
wow, where did that come from?
he's updating his OnlyFans page.
No, it's Bang Me. It's bangme.net. Is that what it was? Or was it Hot or Not? Bangme.net?
Oh, God, Hot or Not. I remember Hot or Not.
Hot or Not. Oh, boy.
That was such a time killer.
Anyways, let's continue on here. Matt, thanks for coming out tonight, man.
All right, gentlemen, y'all have a great night.
There you have it. Mr. Whitfield, one of the channel sponsors here and staff member. Big shout out to our other channel sponsors that allow us to be on here doing this. Jason from Backtrack Cinema, Jesse over at Jesse Stories Time Spectacular, Matty Yank, and Ryan at Call Lake Nation. Ryan, I feel for you this week, buddy. Yeah, you had maybe the worst fantasy week I have ever seen one person have ever. And it resulted in you not making the playoffs, despite selling off all your draft picks for next season. RIP to Ryan's fantasy picks for this year. Before we dive into Daredevil, I do want to take a moment here. I know there's at least one person who grew up with this person outside of Johnny and I that's listening to the show tonight. So Um, it's not a ton official on this, so I want to be careful what I say here. But um, a friend who, as one of Johnny and I's friends, put it to me on the weekend. Someone who was kind of like the little sister of our group, um, growing up, passed away this week, and out of respect to her family, because I haven't seen any official announcement on it yet, I won't say her name. But for those of you that are listening, uh, Johnny, I'll hand it over to you for a second. Just obviously devastating news. I definitely dedicate tonight's show to her, and just one of those moments in life where you don't want it to be real, and it hits so close to home that kind of stops everything for a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, you know, like you said, there isn't really much to say right now. There are no words. There just aren't. I have none.
Well, tonight's show goes up to her, and when we can address it better publicly, we will. For all I know, we're in the clear to do it now, but I don't want to make that assumption. But yeah, and for the I think there's actually two of you that are watching right now. We feel it as much as you guys do. So, all right, fellas, Daredevil episode 4 in the books. I should have just titled the episode "The Return of Frank Castle." Johnny, dive into it, man. Give us your thoughts on the episode.
Well, I mean, it was what we expected it was. There was really no shocks in the story, but damn, it was powerful. All of those moments we got, from the little moments to the big moments leading up to, Matt finding the bullet casing, which, seriously, how, forensically, how does that not get found? Like, I don't, that one, TV rules kind of get me like, okay, yeah, no, that's not, try harder to do that, get it further away, in a bird's nest or something. It just give me something more plausible than it rolled down a hill into a ditch and nobody thought to notice, hey, this alley here is kind of sloped, maybe it rolled down this way. Like, come on now, that's a little bit beyond my reason. But other than that, Matt, seeing Matt's reaction to it and confronting Frank and all of that, when we saw that in the trailer, I expected a knockdown drag out. I expected those two to go at it, throw hands, and just beat the ever loving crap out of each other. And that is the exact opposite of what we got. And god damn it, if it wasn't better than that could have been. Having those two playing that dichotomy of emotion, and Frank being a person who could see it for what it is, the guilt, the pain, the emotion, all of those things, getting through to Matt on a level that nobody else could because he understood it like nobody else could, was so intense, so powerful, so moving. Like, it was I was going into that scene, and when Matt walked in there, and I was expecting fight. Like I wasn't like full on. Yeah, they're gonna throw hands. This is gonna be an intense fight, and you come out of it like, this is not the pain I expected to feel. I loved it. I thought it was amazing. Mixing in the teases at the end with Muse and Frank having, or excuse me, not Frank, Fisk being the king, finally getting to see the Kingpin peek through Mayor Fisk was beautiful. I loved it. We are definitely setting up for bigger things, as we head into, as we finish off the back half this week. I am excited. I can't wait to watch it. There's so much going on right now that I am so excited for. They're making more and more questions. I'm loving it. I'm loving everything about it. As there's just so much, the performances in this are so much better than a comic book show has any right to be.
That's what makes that other show we've been watching so great. Even though you were, not a fan of the AK-47 last week, which
You had to go and ruin a good moment, didn't you?
Nitpicky bastard.
Dude, wait till next week. I got a couple of images for you.
Oh shit.
By the way, on our coverage, I think we're going to be joined by Zach Arnold for some of that too. So I'm not sure which ones. We're all kind of the release times and dates for Andor. It's just really hard to do. I think the one thing we haven't talked about it in an official capacity yet, but I think the one thing I might do is, we've never really done live watch parties with something when it first comes out. They use or drive a lot of traffic to the channels. So I do wonder if maybe on each of the 4, because we're already scheduled to have our normal live show on those days. I do wonder if we do like a watch party to the first episode that releases each week. And then we'll have had like half an hour of a show before then, and then do the review for all 3 the next day, as we have planned for going after Dynamite there for 4 weeks. So something to consider. I've never really been in position to be able to do a live watch party of new content, so might be worth exploring for a week or 2. Someone said something in the chat, but I can't see it. No, we did not. We've addressed that over the last couple of months on the channel. Kieran and I actually spoke at length about some of the Haddonfield the Vanished footage and what we might do with it, and releasing it as a full movie in its current state is just not going to happen. But there's other things we can do, and we're talking, so we'll see what happens. Might actually shoot some additional stuff this summer too, so see what happens with that and what we do with that. I just saw a news thing come by, and now I don't see it, so I want to make sure I get this right. I believe I just read that Nick Frost is closing in on a deal to play Hagrid in the new Harry Potter series for HBO. If so, I like that casting a lot. Hagrid's one of my favorites from the OG Harry Potter movies, obviously. I like Nick Frost a lot. I could get behind that if they can close a deal on that one. Any quick thoughts on that one, guys? Nick Frost as Hagrid?
I'd be fine with that. I think he's a phenomenal actor, and I've liked him in everything I've ever seen him in. So, and he has that uh, the look about him that would fit very well with Hagrid. So I'm all for it.
It would bring the I like this casting ratio up to 66% for me. Which, if you're doing simple math, means right now I'm 50-50. I like Lithgow as Dumbledore. I do not like the Snape casting. And for the opposite reason most people think. I'm not going to go too deep into this rabbit hole, but of all of the characters in the Harry Potter franchise that you are choosing to race swap, you have picked the worst one. Because it makes all of your heroes racist. The Marauders pick on the
proud look
the only
that you just gave yourself.
It's not proud. It's I hate it because you already have a character in the franchise that should not be the color they were in the films. Hermione Granger in the books is not white. From the description, everyone assumed Hermione Granger was not a Caucasian character until the movies. And now taking Snape and changing the color of his skin, now it makes the Marauders awful. It takes their inherent goodness and makes it awful because now they are picking on what is likely to be the only dark-skinned person in their class. You can't make that writing and be like, yeah, these are actually the good guys. You can't. Ugh. Of all of the characters to change, that was the wrong choice. That was the wrong one. You could have done it to so many other characters if you wanted to go down that route, which I don't have an issue with, but you picked the worst possible choice, and I hate that. You picked the character who's the most bullied in the entire franchise. You picked the character that Harry is going to, of all of the professors, hate. From a skill standpoint, I think the performance is going to be great. From a visual standpoint, from a, you just you've made the wrong decision.
Get the feeling we could start a Harry Potter show with just Johnny going off about casting choices.
I know Jade feels similar to how Johnny does. And narratively speaking, I can see that. Yeah.
Here's the thing. I mean, I understand where you're coming from. I also know that the whole scene that we got to see in the movies, it's them being kids being kids doing dumb shit.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. But it just in a TV series now where they're doing this and you're going to see more of those flashbacks, does not help with some of the things that the Marauders did to Snape in the books. They're going to look even worse now. And it just...
Well, what do you think it's going to be like when they actually have Hermione do the whole elf liberation front, which they didn't have in the movies that are in the books?
It means there's more for the, for the house elves. They actually get their story. Right. Give me Spew. I'm a card-carrying member of Spew.
But it's just like when you think about that, how much worse is that going to be in terms of like how they're treated versus what we're going to see in some of the
I'm
flashbacks?
the difference is they are a fully fictional creature. House elves. They're not. There's no comparison to humans. It's completely CG. It's not a. That's the difference. Like it's. I understand what you're saying and the points you're making, and yeah, there's definitely like inherently there's going to be people drawing that line and making that and being about that and trying to turn that into things that go beyond the points that are being made in the series.
The joys of social media. But
Exactly.
it's also you got to remember, it's also the 90s where and for them, it's going to be even farther back. So for those flashbacks. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
going to, hate to say it, but that's just what it was like.
No, absolutely.
And it
Like
sucked.
it unless they I don't want to say like here's the thing that scares me the most. That in all of these flashbacks, Snape is the only colored person you see.
That's not to say that'll be the case, but
No,
I
no,
mean,
and I'm saying
it's
like
always
like
possible.
if that's not like if they do a better job of sort of integrating that class, so it's not just like here it's not easy to counter, but it is sort of easy to counter. And at this point, you cannot have a Caucasian male play one of either Lupin or Sirius. You know what? Scratch that. You cannot have a white guy play Lupin because you cannot have a dark skinned person play Sirius Black. That's a bad idea. Don't do that. But Remus, you can flip that narrative that way, and I don't want to say balance the scales, but take that argument away just by switching, which as bad as it sounds, makes a lot of sense because it would allow you to play more into the Remus is an outcast in the broader magical world, which is very, I don't want to say schmatzy-ish, but very fascistic in its ways and you know elitist and monarchistic and really all of the ists are covered pretty well in Wizarding Britain.
I mean, you're not wrong. I mean, Voldemort's idea for pureblood living on through Salazar Slytherin. That's stuff. That's the stuff that it sucks. It's something that's not realistic, but yeah, I get it. So yeah, we definitely hit all the ists in the series.
Wizarding Britain is very ist.
I'll say this: the is it Papa Esadu, the fellow playing?
Oh, great
Snape?
dude! Amazing talent. Performance is going to be great. That's the last of my concerns about the casting is the performance.
Yeah, I thought he was very, very good in a couple of things I saw him in. And
oh yeah, from a performance standpoint, I think he'll do a phenomenal job.
I don't know who
Absolutely
the
phenomenal.
actress is they cast or who she's playing even, but like when I look at Lithgow and Esadu, and
As far as I know, those are the only
now,
two confirmed castings at this point.
and now Nick Frost, I do see that Deadline's reporting it's basically a done deal.
Hear me out. Hear me out. Simon Pegg as Filch.
Let those two play off each other.
Yes.
I do think, in terms of acting ability, and HBO's fame is like, look, if you're going to be on an HBO show, you're going to have to act, or you're not going to be on that show very long. I'm curious to see how far the acting talent is going to carry the show, and more importantly, how well they cast the kids. Obviously, it's a long commitment from them. Each season is going to be a book, which means way more time to tell the story than what you had in the TV show. the TV show will be a drop in the sand compared to the content you get from, the movies would be a drop in the sand compared to the content you get from the TV show moving forward. But still got to be effective, still got to cast well. And I know that one of the biggest issues they were having early on was casting the kids. So they ended up, pun intended here, casting a wider net in their search, and
As they should. I
and
mean,
delayed the production a bit and wanted to, you know,
for the record, Olivia Colman, Professor McGonagall, that's a match made in heaven. That needs to happen.
he's giving us that look again, Randy.
I am, because that one I'm proud of. That one I want. And if that one happens, I am like John Lithgow and Olivia Colman. Come on now. That's a tandem I can get behind.
Give me a damn good, not Snape, Voldemort casting.
That one, I am torn on that one. I don't really have a frontrunner for that one.
You need someone who has a presence about him that feels menacing, but he's not looking at you menacingly. It's like, it has to be a presence. And I think, like, it's hard.
You know what? I'm wrong. I actually do have a choice for Voldemort now. Matt Smith.
He could do it.
He's a little busy.
By the time this gets into production, he won't be.
Oh yeah, but how long they're taking on these things? Yeah.
Plus, Voldemort isn't really a factor until the end of the third book, to the end of the third season. So I
think it depends what they want to show, right? Like, technically, he's in big.
Even without it, it's not so much that he's not part of it. In the first book, he's a wraith on the back of Quirrell's head. That's it. That's the extent of it. He's literally in nothing else. In the second book, it's all flashback. It's all Tom Marvolo. It's all young Voldemort. Third book, he's not there until the end. Actually, the third book, I don't even think he's in the third book. Is he? I mean, I have to think about that one.
Well, in the first book, or at least in the movie, he shows up looking like Palpatine.
Yeah, he's Wraith on the back of Quirrell's head. That's the only time you see him.
So if you did do Matt Smith, you could just have him do a little voice acting, a little CG, and
yeah,
you could get away with that. But in the third book, it was Prisoner of Azkaban. So it was
I don't think Voldemort was in that at all.
I mean, he was mentioned, but
of course mentioned, but not physically there. It's Goblet where he becomes a factor when he gets his body back.
Yeah, because Azkaban was all about eventually outing Peter Pettigrew, and that's how we ended up with what happened in Goblet of Fire.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this was a lovely little Harry Potter side tangent. Johnny gave his Daredevil thoughts, I do believe.
That's what we were talking about?
Yeah, we were talking Daredevil. Yeah, and then Sean mentioned, I thought I just saw something, and down the rabbit hole we went.
Yeah.
It's usually how rabbit holes go.
Randy, did you give your Daredevil thoughts yet? I can't remember.
I did not. That's how off the rails we went. We followed the white bunny down the hole. A little deep. But as far as episode 4, I mean, I agree with Johnny. It was so well done. We got to see Kingpin come out to play. I like the fact that he's got his own personal little dungeon where he can just sit there, eat his meal, and basically torture the guy all at the same time. It's definitely very, very Kingpinish versus, obviously him trying to be the politician, trying to get his marriage put back together. But still, those scenes are good too, because it shows just the range of emotions the character is going through. And of course, the leak that happened, that stuff, I thought for sure we were losing the character, but the fact that he reined it in and decided to give the kid another chance, I was pretty impressed by that. But we'll go to obviously we'll hit on the scene that's obviously probably the most impactful scene of the episode, and that's Frank and Matt. And I'm not gonna lie, Charlie Cox, the way he's able to act through facial features with sunglasses on, like the way everything was so spot on, and just Frank's words and how powerful they were. I mean, even I was getting misty eyed because it was just that well done, to the point of where I was feeling the exact same feelings that Matt was. I'm going, wait a second, why am I feeling this? And you just kind of look at how the scene's playing out. And and then when he finally hauls off on Frank and he's like, oh, I'm sorry, I should have done it. And Frank's like, what are you sorry for? It's what you wanted to do. It's like Frank's like trying to bring out who Matt really is so that Matt can do what he needs to do. And with everything going on, I mean, how much more is Matt going to take before he finally snaps and just says, screw it, I'm all in again. I thought, I mean, obviously, and I will say at the beginning, the very beginning with the little girl, and she's like, I fucking hate the cops, and just sitting there crying and like seeing how broken he was just from that. Like all this stuff is building up, and there's going to be that moment, and and I have a feeling it's going to be all those cops that are going to come after him when he finally just unleashes everything. And it's going to be brutal and gruesome and epic, and I can't wait for it, because that he keeps running into that one cop, and that dude's going to bring his friends this time, and he's just going to unleash hell on him.
I mean, selfishly, I wanted more Frank. It also scared me though, because I felt like that was the type of episode that could be his only episode, and then we wait for the spinoff to happen, and the IMDb count is already wrong in terms of his appearances. I hope I'm wrong. Like I don't want that to be it for Frank. But it might be. I also read this thing where, like, when they first pitched him coming back, when it was the other iteration of the show before they went and reshot a bunch of stuff, that Bernthal was like, "Yeah, I don't think so. I don't like how you guys are writing the character. No thanks." So that was a bridge that had to be repaired. I thought the scene itself in that episode, I mean, made the entire episode. Not that the rest of the episode's useless by no means, but just like the "Did Foggy get life?" line, like just powerful shit.
Yeah.
Do you guys think that's it for Frank in season 1?
No.
No, I think there's going to be a point where Matt gets in over his head and he's going to need help. So, and that's when Frank comes back in and helps him out. But I still think we can get a few more episodes in. I don't think it's going to be just the one and done.
Hope not. But yeah, there's our Daredevil episode 4 thoughts. Next week we'll have to give you episode 5 and 6 thoughts, as we're getting 2 episodes apparently tonight. So that's cool shit. So let me pull up these details here for our next topic. All right, so we have some details about if my phone would cooperate with me, that'd be wonderful. It's a losing battle at the moment. So Bespin Bulletin put out this article. It's titled "Everything We Know About Bit Reactor's Star Wars Video Game." It turns out that the one of the lead guys working on the project. This is the real time strategy game.
Yeah.
Is that what they're called? Yeah, RTSs. He did work on Civilization and XCOM games and Marvel Midnight Suns and a few other things.
Oh, we getting something like XCOM? That'd be cool.
Just sifting through it because I can't pull it up on screen at the moment. Something they've been working on for a while. I think they imagine it's important that the game has a good look, and they feel like it does. What is an RTS video game? So, anyways, the gist of it is they have a big panel coming up at Star Wars Celebration, Saturday, April 19th, 4:30 to 5:30 p.m., where we are going to get a first look at the game. And I know one of the other things that's been rumored recently is some Thrawn-based stuff. And that would make sense, if you're going to do a real-time strategy game. Why not have the ultimate Star Wars strategist available in some way, shape, and or form? So that's cool. We'll talk about that more when we either see it or get more details on it. Fellas, did you have a chance to see the Andor trailer?
I have not.
I did.
Right. What'd you think of it?
It definitely got me a little more hype for season 2. Obviously, they're not going to show but so much, but I did like the overall feel of it. The look of it was really cool, and we got a couple extra things we hadn't seen before, which is always nice.
Yeah. Was I muted there?
You did break out, yeah. So
Oh, okay. So, first of all, glad that we don't have the Steve Earle music for this one. Glad it felt more like a natural Star Wars trailer. It seems really intense. Um, I mean, visually it looks fantastic, but this show always does. You get thinking about all the big players from season one, and then you get thinking about how many of them you don't see in Rogue One, and you go, oh, you start thinking about certain things that are said in Rogue One from certain characters, and it makes you go, well, how many of these fuckers are gonna live? Like, one of the big things that, and I don't know that we are gonna see it, but it would be a huge missed opportunity if we don't see it. One of the things that we need to see is Mon Mothma calling out Palpatine in the Senate and throwing down and escaping Coruscant. Like, not only is that a huge set piece type episode where maybe you have Cassian getting her off planet, but like Mon Mothma's escape from the Senate is really the final shift forward for the Rebel Alliance before Rogue One. So I bring that up because I felt like maybe they were alluding to some of that during part of the trailer, but
It did kind of seem that way, didn't it? I will say one of the things that I saw from the trailer that I thought was interesting is social media kind of going, wait, is that one Imperial officer who looks like they're grabbing at their neck? Does that mean we're getting Vader? It's like, and if you really look at the scene, it's like, it looks like someone's more or less having a panic attack more so than being force choked, but could be wrong. You never know. But I mean, it'd be kind of cool, but Vader's presence is not necessary. Not until like what we saw with Rogue One, how that worked out. So I'm gonna go with Panic Attack for that one scene that they showed, if they even keep it in the season, because we all know how some trailers are. They'll show stuff that they end up cutting for the actual episode. So
Yeah, that was Deidre, and clever move by the marketing team. If that's not Vader or even Palpatine, rather.
mm-hmm.
You start thinking about it, and it's like she's clearly in like a her office type scenario. It's like, well, that's not Palpatine. Sorry, he ain't coming to you. You're going to him, through a long chain of command, and Vader may come to you. But even like in the first season, she's getting worked up while trying to find certain files, and we see her like pop some pills of some sort. And
Mm-hmm.
so, like, to me, it's 99% a panic attack and a clever little shot where they can go, oh, well, maybe this will make people think that so-and-so is in it.
Well, we have seen Vader force choke someone to death over a holo transmission, so it's not impossible.
Yes, he does have a great long-distance plan.
That might be the most dad joke you've ever done.
And yet you laugh.
Ever.
But fellas, the last topic I have for tonight is this. And I'm going to ask for two. Give me two of your favorite gimmick matches in wrestling. I'll start. One's my favorite ever. It's still, for me, I get more excited for this than I get excited for WrestleMania. I just do. And that is the Royal Rumble match. I don't know. I love the match, love the concept. I'm a Royal Rumble guy. And then, I mean, it's probably low-hanging fruit, but just a ladder match. Give me any incarnation. It can just be a ladder match. It can be a singles ladder match. It can be a tag team ladder match. It can be a TLC match. Just the concept of climbing the ladder to get the briefcase or belts or whatever, contract, etc. I will always dig that. I will always have room for a really good ladder match. And honestly, I'll probably enjoy a really good ladder match more than most other types of matches. So, mine are vanilla, but that's where I'm at with mine. Randy, how about you?
So it's interesting to think about, because when you said gimmick match, I was like going, so you asking for the actual type or actual favorite match? So in terms of just thinking about over the years, everything I've ever seen, I've always enjoyed Hell in a Cell, but when they're done right, because there's been quite a few different times when Hell in a Cell has been done just god awfully wrong. I mean, Rollins and Fiend. That's one of them. Yeah, exactly. See, even Johnny's like, "Yep, that's one of those bad uses for sure." But I'm with you and Sean of a ladder match. I mean, yeah, you're right. It's low hanging fruit, but there's been so many.
It's above the ring.
There's so many great ladder matches out
for
there.
dad jokes.
There's so many great ladder matches in history. I mean, thinking about like Shawn and Razor, or when you get like tag teams involved. So you get the Hardys and Edge and Christian, or the Dudley. I mean, there's so many different variations of a ladder match, like you said, that there's so many good matches that have come out of ladder matches that it's hard not to have that as one of your favorite gimmick matches. It really is just right there for me. Don't get me wrong. Royal Rumble's right there for me just because of the excitement level of it. But lately they've been a little cookie cutter and very easily to predict, and that is the only reason why I didn't choose that as one of my top two.
You mean you didn't think Santino was going to win the Royal Rumble that year when he came out from under the ring? You didn't think
Oh,
there
but
was
if he'd have won that Elimination Chamber, goddamn, that crowd would have gone ape shit.
Yeah, they would have.
Hang on, what does Jerry say here? No way we're getting Palpatine. Ian cannot remember his last name at the moment. It's far too old. I know Luke looked good in Mando Season 3, but I disagree with this one completely, Jerry. Because if you look at how terrible the Emperor looks in the original trilogy and frail and decrepit, I would say Ian is better fit now to play that role than he was as a young man when he played that role. So I would go on the opposite side of that. And honestly, given what this show's been about, and dramatically and politically, if I had to choose between the two, I think it's more relevant to see the Emperor at this point make one of his rare Senate appearances, because we know between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope, it's not like he never appears in public, but it's rare, as we've seen in the Bad Batch. It's got to be something really moving. I love the idea of Mon Mothma just calling him out in person and him wanting nothing more than to snap her neck right there, but can't give away the whole Sith Lord deal. And I think there's something really cool to do there. Johnny, give it to us, man. What are your two favorite gimmick matches?
Oh man. Since we're not limiting, we're sort of all time here. I gotta start with the classic WCW War Games. WCW era War Games is peak gimmick match. Not a fan of the half-ass War Games the WWE's been putting out, because it's not a War Games match. War Games has a roof on it. Okay, I'm not buying this no roof War Games crap because it's stupid and it's too many weapons in it. That's not War Games. The last real War Games was in 1997. I will not hear any debates otherwise, except for a few indie ones that have been good. MLW did some good War Games, and Blood and Guts has been a fairly decent representation of classic. It's a better classic War Games than the WWE War Games.
I mean, the Medal of Honor line of games is great too.
What?
You were talking about War Games, and you said there hasn't been any good ones since '97. So just thought I'd point out there that, back in the day, Medal of Honor had a few good War Games. So did Desert Storm, by the way.
Sean being the ultimate troll right now. I love it.
And for a second one, nothing beats the cage match. There are so many great cage matches in history. It's the classic. It's the first gimmick match. It's the oldest gimmick match. It's the most visceral of all the gimmick matches. I love it. It's the father of the Hell in a Cell. It's the father of the War Games. Without the cage match, none of those exist. And I will take a good quality classic cage match over any other gimmick match anytime. But not this escape the cage bullshit. That's stupid. Cage match is to keep you locked in with your opponent. Keep everyone else out. It's not so you can run away like a little bitch. Pin the man in the ring like a real man. Or woman. A lot of female cage matches have been pretty damn good too. But yeah, pin him in the middle of the ring. Don't run away like a bitch. That's not what cage matches are about.
Now, just so we're clear, Johnny's not advocating for keeping your friends in cages. That is from...
If it's for the purpose of keeping them close so you can beat the crap out of them, go ahead. Any other reason, unless it's consensual. But, don't keep people in cages against their will. That's the lesson here. I don't think Randy's been around enough to see us go off the rails like we have tonight. This is a new experience for you, Randy.
Sean was in a ladder match. No way that big booty can get up the ladder. Oh, HBK, sure, but Phantom Sean's big booty going up the ladder? No way. Well, the guy in the top left here can vouch for me on this one that I have in fact gone up a ladder.
Yes, you have.
And
it was not a pretty sight.
I also came down that ladder in not a very fun way. But yeah, we had some fun backyard wrestling things back in the day. Someone broke my ankle, but we won't get into that.
But don't ask me to try and escape a sharpshooter if you're not ready for me to escape a sharpshooter.
I wasn't ready.
There's 2 ways to escape a sharpshooter, okay? And one of them is grab your ankle and pull you until you fall on your face. It's not my fault you didn't have your balance.
Tried to kill me, damn it. Probably sent that fucking
you
Burger
made the
King
bet that I couldn't get out of a sharpshooter.
poison.
That's not my fault.
Those were the days. Did you give both ears?
He did.
Yeah, okay. Well, in quick, timely fashion this week, we're done. That's the end of the show.
90 minutes. That's not quick.
That's compared to what we used to do. Yeah.
Compared to that 3-hour behemoth from the other week.
3 hours is not a behemoth, Randy.
That was I was gonna say I remember some 5-hour shows back in Wastelands days. By the way, that Coke
I remember being on Wastelands at 2:00 in the morning because we just couldn't finish the end of the conversation.
Oh, we also wouldn't start till 10, so we'd only be 15 minutes into a Wastelands episode at this point. Which is wild to think about because I'm sitting here at 10:17 at night going, oh man, I'm pretty tired here. I'm gonna have to get to bed soon. But that being said, next week, catch us Tuesday night for another episode of Fandom Nation. And then immediately after that, we will be watching episode 10 of Andor Season 1. And then the following Tuesday, same deal, where we will be watching episode 12 of Andor Season 1. Getting us ready for our Andor Season 2 coverage here at the channel. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications to all to keep up with all of our content. To find the bonus content right now, you can still go to patreon.com/fandomempire. That will change to Fandom Nation come April 1st. Be on the lookout for that. A new revamped Patreon program where you'll be able to get new content. And a lot more coming in the near future. I'm hoping that this is the beginning of a lot of leakage in terms of casting announcements and story stuff for Crystal Lake. And, it'll be fun covering that as time goes. But without further ado, let's bid bon voyage to our friends here. Johnny, where can everybody find you, man? What do you got going on?
Oh, you can find me here, there, and everywhere. Twitch.tv/brews before pros. We'll be back this week. I took last week off because just wasn't feeling it. Back this week. I have no idea what we're going to play, but we're going to play something.
Medal of Honor, man. Great games. Randy?
So over on X, you can find me at Giggity Giles with March Madness in full swing. The Sports Brew guys are, I'm assuming, gearing up this week to release a new episode. If you enjoy people talking dumb shit, drinking, and talking sports, just Google Sports Brew and should be able to find us no problem.
There you have it. Again, big thanks to our channel sponsors, Ryan over at Colleague Nation, Jesse's Storytime Spectacular, Jason, Backtrack Cinema, and Matt. Without you guys, we wouldn't be here. To our patrons, thank you. And we will see you all on next week's episode.